Welcome to The Secrets of Success. By following the proven techniques of the guests who appear on this series, you'll learn that even successful people run into detours and failures, and how you can apply their success techniques to change your life.
You're now listening to the most unique show on radio, the show dedicated to making you a success. We all want success, but Dave Jennings says there's a pit in the way. Dave, welcome to the show.
Bill, it's great to be with you.
Now, what's this? I know your book is entitled The Pit of Success, and that's kind of unusual because when we think of a pit, that's something kind of negative or something we fall into, and of course, success is something we all want. So why the pit of success?
Because usually anywhere you want to get to, there's an obstacle standing in front of you, and so this idea that you need to be willing to embrace this pit. Otherwise, you're going to do what you've always been doing. And so these words are very intentional. We call it a pit because it is dark, it is lonely, and it is confusing. But we call it a pit of success because if you are willing to embrace this confusion, you can achieve most any success. In fact, there are very few things that you really cannot do if you're willing to be temporarily incompetent and embrace the pit.
Oh, that's another term we're going to get into, but I like that. I like hearing that. And by the way, we've been doing our show for 33 years, and that's the first time we've had that approach to it, that there's a pit of success. So you've got a definite new point, and I know from going through your book, some great ideas about success that's going to help our audience. Right at the start of the book, there's a subtitle that says, Leaders Achieve with Their Doubts. What does that mean?
Everybody thinks that leaders often are, these knowledgeable, amazing people. Well, they are, and the reality is all of us are just figuring this out. There is no special granting of knowledge when you become a leader. You don't all of a sudden have special insight. You are going to achieve things without knowing how to do them. I've interviewed people at all levels in most every kind of walk of life, everything from surgeons to politicians to teachers to parents. And the one thing that is consistent across levels and across countries is that leaders are doing things with doubts. And so that is the norm rather than the exception. And that is one idea I want to push with everyone, is that you're not expected to know. Those people that you look at in the room that you think, oh my goodness, they really know, they don't. All right. They may have an opinion, but even their opinion, they're figuring it out. And to realize that everybody else is doing this with doubts, to me, is a huge burden off our shoulders, because everybody has to figure it out. You're no different when you're sitting there lost than anybody else. That is the norm.
I think that's why I liked your book so much, The Pit of Success, because when I read it, and right away at the beginning, you say that people have their doubt, and I said, wait a minute, that's like me. I have my doubts. So even though he or she is a CEO, CFO, CHO, whatever initials they have, even though they're the head coach, the captain, the president, they have their doubts, and it made me feel a lot better.
And that's what we find as we go around the world teaching this, is that leaders will tell us, you mean I'm not alone? You mean that others are just like me? Yep, they really are. You are experiencing the most common and shared emotional experience, to wonder if you're good enough and then to go in and figure it out. That is the norm.
Now, I copied down a quote from your book, and you say that leaders are not in a job because they have all the answers, but to find the answers. And that almost takes me back to law school years ago when the professor said, it's not that you know the answers, you got to know the questions first. So can you talk about that?
So if you knew the answer to the questions, we probably couldn't afford you, all right? Because part of a job is figuring it out. We can't have you in there doing all these things and just have because the problems are new and unique. If you already understood those, again, you'd be promoted. We couldn't afford you in that. Every job requires that you do things beyond your experience. And in that space, it's all about figuring it out. It's like going, hey, I've never been here before. Maybe someone who's been here would have the answer, but my job right now is to take what skills I have, to take, the passion I have, the doubts I have, and figure this out and do it the best I can with what I got. And that, to me, is what is just so freeing, is that, all right, I'm going to figure this out. I'm not expected to know. This is just good old me, and I'm going to figure it out.
And of course, you're right. As a little kid, we trust our parents, the doctor, the policeman, the fireman, the nurse, whoever is helping us, the teacher. But when we grow up, we kind of say, gee, I wish I had that person who used to seem to have all the answers. And just knowing that the other person across from us, across the hall, at our bank, at our company, at our hospital, doesn't have all the answers, definitely makes me feel a lot better. But I'm going to ask you, and I took this right from your book, leaders never mention this. They don't talk about their doubts. Is that part of the leadership training school?
I think it's part of being human. I think a lot of us, we don't want to show our vulnerabilities. We don't want to show that we don't know. We like people to think we're smart. We're often trained to be afraid of ever feeling dumb. And so it is normal and logical to kind of go, well, it seems risky for me to share this, so I'll just keep it to myself. But what I find interesting and fun is when you put it on the table, people go, oh yeah. I mean, I have never been in a room where we didn't get out this on the table and everybody didn't go, oh yeah, I've been through that multiple times. And usually the executives or managers are saying, I'm in it right now. And we just normalize it and we just say, yep, that's how we figure out hard things, is by embracing this pit and getting through it and then getting better the next time.
I guess the leaders, and I joked about it before, but are more or less trained to convey confidence and positivity because we want to feel that they're pretty solid whatever they say, whether it's go out in the rain or come in from the rain or sell 100 widgets today, whatever it is. We want to feel that they have all the answers, even if kind of behind the scenes we know they're like us.
Well, I think we all collude with each other, right? In that we do. We expect others to be more knowing than us. And so we kind of put that expectation on them. And I will say there that, the job of leaders is to clarify direction. And I spend a whole lot of time working with leaders on, let's get really clear on where you're going and why you're going there and making sure everyone understands it. So these doubts do not give us a pass on the need to clarify those things. They just emphasize that we're going to figure it out. We don't have the answer. We're going to grow into the answer. And so, we have to get that clarity of direction, but we also figure it out with time.
I think just your answers to the first few questions today make a lot of us feel a lot better because we're saying to ourselves, wait a minute, I don't have 140 IQ. I didn't go to the Ivy League. I wasn't part of those advanced placement courses. Maybe I wasn't on the honor roll. I still have a chance, though, to be any of the things I want to be in life if I work hard enough, and you give us some formulas later in your book. So I think you're going to be a big friend of the show because you're telling us we can do it all. And it's, again, another statement I copied down, uncertainty is shared by all leaders. And that's great to know because if I didn't get an A on that test, okay, maybe the guy who's the CEO or the head doctor, she didn't get an A on it either. So
right, and I just I couldn't agree with you more. But you are stating things that I've written there. But just to realize that, yep, I'm going to figure it out, and to realize that things are learnable. You may be getting there in our conversation, but we get in later into the brain science behind this, and the idea that our brains are not wired to succeed or fail. Our brains are wired to repeat. And so our challenge is we've got to overcome what we're familiar with and give our brains new demands so that they can grow into the next level. And the research is so very clear that a brain that practices something over and over again will get better at it. It's not like, an anomaly. If you will focus on some skill, and you will apply that and do it over and over again, the brain will make the connections, you will rewire, and you will find a new path. The biggest thing I got from writing the book was just the true sense that what you need is learnable. And when you realize that what you need is learnable, you're free, because no longer do you sit there and go, what's the matter with me? I didn't get the grade. I didn't do this, or I didn't do that. It's like, no, I haven't practiced that. And if I practice this, I can master this skill. And that is freedom. That is power.
It really is. And so many of the things that I read and in preparing questions for you today, it really made me feel so much better, because I'm saying to myself, wait, I can learn these things. I may not want to learn Spanish or have a need for it, but I could learn it. And I could learn certainly at least enough to communicate, maybe not well, maybe not to be a writer or a speaker, but I could get by. And just knowing that definitely gave me a power that I didn't know before I read your book.
Right. And I would even push you there a little, Bill, and say, if you wanted to be good enough to, speak in Spanish or to write in Spanish, you absolutely could. But, for whatever reason, it may not be your main goal. And so you're willing to maybe get good enough, and the higher level isn't what you want. But I would just push that your brain is so capable of rewiring that you could do it. Absolutely.
Dave, at this point in the show, I'd like to remind our audience that you're listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm your host, Bill Horan. Our guest today is Dave Jennings. He's the author of the book, The Pit of Success. And Dave, would you tell us, one, where we can get the book, and also if there's a website where we can learn more?
So the book is available on most every outlet, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, any of the other major ones available there, both in paperback and as an ebook. And for more information, you can go to our site, www.learnablesolutions.com, learnablesolutions.com.
And as always, we'll ask you this a few more times during the show, so if someone is listening, they can get the information down, go follow up on it a little bit, and definitely go out and take a look at The Pit of Success. Now, we asked you that at the beginning of the show, why the name The Pit of Success. But now that we have a little idea about it, how would you define it a little more formally? If I was there and I said, what is this pit of success? What does that mean? How would you define that?
So let me give you just a little bit bigger picture and say that we all have some current level of expertise. And when we're in our current level of expertise, we feel comfortable. We all want to gain a new level of expertise. What stands between our current level of expertise and our future level of expertise is a pit of success. It is the space where we feel doubtful. It's the space where we wonder if we're good enough. It's a space where decisions take longer. And it's a space that you even want to get out of once you get in there and go back to your current expertise. When you embrace the pit of success, you are able to unburden this idea that I'm not enough and realize that I can figure this out and I can grow into my new expertise. The pit of success is what stands between you and your next success.
And the interesting thing that I took away from that is literally that's everything. From when we learn to ride a bicycle, from when we move from the first grade to the second grade, eighth grade to, I guess it's junior high school, then on to high school, perhaps a 2-year college, a 4-year college, graduate school, medical school, law school, whatever profession. And even after that, of course, we are all continually getting new certificates, new training in computers, in science, in the technology of different fields. So this is the approach. The more I read your book, the more I got into it. I said, this is really so true. And yet nobody that we've had on the show, and we've had some of the great people in the success field, have ever really mentioned this. So I commend you for hitting at it, for alerting us to it. And like I said, it made me feel a lot better because I'm no longer afraid of these things. I'm saying, wait, this is to be expected. Now, is this pit of success, is this imposed on us, or do we take a personal step and say, okay, I'm going to take that next step and do it?
So it could be either one. So in some cases, we intentionally choose a pit, such as going back to school, taking on a new position, learning a new skill. Any of those, we choose to jump in that pit. But likewise, you could be pushed in. You could have an organizational change that you're now doing things that you didn't want to do. You could lose your job. You could have a health crisis that pushes you in. The unique thing, though, is whether or not you choose to jump in or you are pushed in. The keys to getting through are really similar in that if you will focus on the why I'm willing to go through this, it will help you. Clarifying the purpose beyond, this moment is one of the biggest accelerators to getting through the pit. And the other one, whether it's imposed or chosen, is to redefine what the pit means. For a lot of us, when we're full of doubt, when we're at a loss, we wonder if we're good enough, we come to a conclusion that we're no good and something's the matter with us. Instead, whether it's imposed or we choose it, if we redefine it as, I'm not supposed to know, I'm supposed to be lost, and I'm going to figure this out, we see this pit in a new way, no matter where it came from, because we say, you know what, I can do this. I have a reason, and this is doable. The research says my brain can change. I know this is possible.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, I can decide to learn Spanish if I want, and that's something I may just find interesting, useful, or a fun hobby to test myself. On the other hand, I might go to work tomorrow and find my job description has been changed, the company has been sold, they merged, and maybe I'm kind of getting the feeling that, you know what, it's time to look around because you're not going to be in this position, in this location for too long. Give me a little more control over my existence. So it could be either by my choice or imposed, and it's going to take me to a new level after I come out of it.
Right. And if you're willing to embrace that pit, I was listening to a radio broadcast of someone in the mining industry who lost their job and they went back to school. And they're like, okay, I get it. Things are changing. And they went back to school for just a few days. And they said, it was so overwhelming that I quit. And my heart broke. It just really broke because this individual didn't realize that they could figure this out. They were just now doing something that they hadn't been doing for a long time. So it was beyond them at the moment. But to realize that, no, you really can rewire. Your brain is not in a steady state. And this is irregardless of age. We quote research in there, on people at 80 and 90 years old being able to learn new skills. This is something you can rewire and do. And so my heart went out to the individual who just felt, because they were only like in their 40s and feeling they couldn't figure out school. But you really can. Whatever that challenge is, your brain can rewire. And this is not hype. That's one thing. I'm not into hype. I'm far more into research. And the brain science is very clear that your brain can rewire.
And I love that, Dave, too. And I want to point out to our audience, you have, I guess it's the expression is no dog in the race or horse in the race. You're not selling us something and telling us, come to my college, you can learn more, or take my course, or get this certificate, etc. You're telling us just the reality of your research that we can learn these things. In fact, as you were telling that story, I was thinking, we hear occasionally of a friend who will say, oh, I did this, I made that decision instantly, and then I never went to a college class, or I changed my mind before I went in that first day. And I often think, how did you know if you didn't even try it? Wouldn't it have been better to fail? And then there's always the chance that you might have liked it, you might have passed, you might have done a lot better, or at least opened a side door that would have taken you where you wanted to go. You didn't even give yourself the chance.
Right. And, when you speak of failing, sometimes we have to do it a number of times before our brain makes the connection. And so if you don't get something, it doesn't mean you're incompetent. It means that your brain doesn't have experience in that area. And so it might take you 5 times, it might take you 50 times before your brain makes a new connection. But your brain will make a connection when you apply at it enough time. So whatever that new topic is, it is learnable and your brain can rewire. Like for me, you can tell that I just feel deeply that I want people to understand that you've got what it takes and you'll figure it out if you're willing just to practice.
I would go along with you with everything else, but I will tell you that I've probably played 10,000 rounds of golf, and the ball still doesn't go where Tiger Woods' ball goes. So maybe just on golf, but I'll challenge on the golf part.
Well, and there are some areas that we need to say, are not going to be my expertise.
I think that's the one I have to say. But everything else I agree with you on. Dave, once again, at this point in the show, I want our audience to know that you're listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Bill Horan. Our guest today is Dave Jennings, Jennings. His book is The Pit of Success, and you can already tell how much I like this book and how many great points he's been making. But we're going to ask him, number one, where you can get the book and if there's a website where we can learn more.
And so any of the major online providers, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, any of those and many others. And it's in paperback and ebook. And for more information, www.learnablesolutions.com, learnablesolutions.com.
And I urge our audience, as I always do, even if you're saying, well, I don't know if this will be for me and I'm not a reader or something, just take the information down. Guaranteed within a few days, someone's going to be talking to you and you'll say, what was the name of that author? Well, his name is Dave Jennings. What was the name of the book? The Pit of Success. Just have it on a little piece of paper. You'll be in the bookstore and say, wasn't that the book I heard on the radio? Yes, it was. Give yourself a chance to jump into that success pool. And I think you'll find that Dave is right in what he's saying. Now, Dave, you have a term there, redefining the pit. What does that mean? Where does that come into play?
So many of us, when we're doing something hard beyond our experience, we see it as an enemy. We see it as something that tells us we're no good. Instead, we can see it as an ally, something that puts demand on us so that we can grow a new muscle, basically a mental, technically we don't have muscles in the brain, but that mental muscle. And so the idea when you redefine and say demand is not the enemy, you've got a whole new freedom. See, if you look at whether it's school or relationship or any other demand or work and say, gee, they're against me. You're automatically setting your brain up for literally a set of chemicals that start firing that make you less able to adapt. Whereas if you look at your situation and you say, this is possible, there is something I can do here, I can use this demand, a different set of chemicals flow in your brain and increase your ability to take action. And so this idea that you can jump in, redefine is really a simple yet powerful way to embrace whatever is around you and have freedom.
Now, Dave, I again copied something down from your book. You say the pit begins with an oh no moment. And I think that's the great title for your next book or an article if you're looking for a title, the oh no moment. But tell us what that is.
Well, the oh no moment is when you realize that you cannot rely on the skills that got you here. So you're good at a lot of things. And those skills are probably why you got promoted or doing whatever it is. And so you're sitting there and you've been using those skills, and then all of a sudden you realize this isn't working. I used to be good at this. I thought I was good. Oh no, what am I going to do? And that's the moment you realize that, all right, I cannot rely on anything that I've been doing. I've got to figure out a new skill. And if we define that moment as, oh, that's my cue, that's my aha moment, now we're free and we can embrace and jump in.
We've all seen those law shows on TV where all of a sudden the witness says something and you can see on the lawyer's eyes that, oh no, this just blew my case. And he or she has about 2 to 3 seconds to kind of save themselves or soften that blow, or at least not make it as imposing or obvious to the jury to kind of try to save their case. And I'm sure the doctor has the same thing. They get inside of us and say, oh no, the x-ray showed us this, but there's some other negative bodily chemicals or impediments that we have to deal with. So just having the oh no moment, I guess everybody has it, and we have to be ready for that.
Yeah, and just it's part of the process. It's almost like I need to pay attention. I need a new skill. that's kind of what it tells you. I need a set of skills that my past skills won't solve.
I know my stomach used to always drop when the teacher said, okay, put everything away. We're having a surprise quiz. That was my oh no moment. But really, you say it, and I think just by you saying this and having it in our expectations, feelings of fear and inadequacy are all part of growth. If we didn't have that quiz, I wouldn't know what I didn't know. I wouldn't know what I had to study. I wouldn't have prepared better for the next full-size test or semester exam. So it really was part of the growth. All of us fell off the bike the first time we tried to ride it, and then we gradually got better.
Right. And in my term, it's demand is my friend. All right. That pop quiz, the test, the project that's due. Without demand, I'd probably kind of hang out a lot more. And so demand helps me do things I would probably just avoid. I copied down so much from your book. I have several pages of simply notes that I wrote. And there's one that I think people may want to jot down and have for their husband, their wife, their son. If I'm willing to feel stupid for a little bit, I can get smarter and smarter. And anything I try that I'm new, as I said, the first time I played golf, it's embarrassing. You swing, you miss the ball, you hit it to the left, you hit it to the right. Little kids are hitting it better than you. But of course, if you play a few times, you're hitting it well, you're enjoying it, and you've achieved a new level in a sport you hadn't played before. Can you talk about that a little bit? And so, you've really introduced it there, that no matter what you're doing, if it's beyond your experience, the most common thing to do is feel doubt. And so when a lot of us feel doubt, we might say, this proves I'm not good. Yeah, I always knew that. I think I just need to go back and do what I was doing before. Instead, when we feel doubt, when we're not good quickly, we can say, this is normal. Having doubt is normal. And if I'm willing to feel the doubt and work through the doubt, then anything is within my reach. But if doubt tells me something's the matter with me, my most logical response will be to go back to my current skills. And I'm going to hide in what I already know. I joke with musicians. If you know many amateur musicians, most of them have a few songs that they play over and over again. And when they grab a new piece of music, they play for 5 minutes. And when after 5 minutes, they're then playing the songs they already know. They're not willing to feel the doubt. And because of that, they never get past their 5 songs. So to become a pro in life, we need to be willing to say, you know what? The doubt is not an indicator of my goodness. It's an indicator that I haven't been here before.
I love that. The book is The Pit of Success. Our guest has been Dave Jennings. Dave, once again, just tell us the website where we can find out more.
That's learnablesolutions.com, learnablesolutions.com.
Dave, thanks so much for being with us today. We'd like our audience to know that you've been listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm your host, Bill Horan, asking you to please join us again next week at this same time when we will continue our journey to success.